The award ceremony, the awards is one of our pillars of IFE that we as founders established last year. In many ways, I think particularly our first award ceremony, an opportunity for us to really set the standard for what we see as excellence and personifications of the mission of IFE. We were clear that we did not want to limit it to individuals who were in the classroom or working directly with an educational institution, but everyone within that ecosystem. And I believe the three awardees today represent that. Similarly, we did not confine ourselves to the K-12 environment, of which you will see also through our awardees. I just want to thank our award committee. Over the course of the last year, we've come together, we've met, had countless telephone calls. We went through a rigorous selection process where our founders brought forth names. As you imagine, the nominees, all of which in their own right were amazing, were brought forth, and we had a voting process, a nomination process. And I want to recognize Mark Johnson, who is not here. He cannot be here. One of our committee members, Dr. Sharon Shirley, who is also, you'll see later on, Benita, who is also a member of our selection committee, and also Matthew. And so clap it up for our selection committee, if you would. Appreciate that. And so I'm gonna stop there in the interest of time and introduce our first presenter, which is Superintendent Sharon Johnson-Shirley from Lake Ridge New Tech Schools in Indiana, and she will present our first awardee.
Thank you. I want to talk about my why. My why is because every child deserves a chance, and I am responsible for providing that chance. My who? I tried to rank it, but there was no way I could get around it. My mom has always been my biggest cheerleader. She's passed on, but I still remember all of the encouragement that she gave me. So that's what I have for you. Let me tell you, it's an honor and a pleasure because I get to present the first award. The very, very first. That deserves a round of applause. Let me tell you, I am presenting the award for Rising Star. The Rising Star Award is bestowed upon a leader that has her great ideas, experiences, all of the things that policy and practices have led her to impact students for all over. And I am so proud today that I have to give it to this one person. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her before I give her the award. This person is the founder of the LaborX Corporation. She has impacted so many students and children from early on, 13 years of age. She's ran tutoring services that impacted over 10,000 students. Let's give it up for that piece. She believes in the LinkedIn, so for those that have linked out. And she is a serial entrepreneur. Let me tell you a few more things about her before I bring her up. She has a new baby. She's about 3 months old, 11 months old. And she's here with her today. And with that, she also believes in and has inspired people that are coming out of prison, the prison pipeline. Her whole thought process is because she's experienced family members, and probably all of us in here can talk about somebody we know or somebody we related to that has experienced the prison pipeline. And with that, it inspired her to do the work that involves getting business together, corporations, anybody that will support her in helping these people that are coming out to receive jobs and be employable. And so for that, I commend her for her work. I'm going to say this one time, and then I'm going to give you her nickname. Her name is Yscaira Jimenez. Please come forward and receive your award.
The biggest threat, particularly to Black, brown, and working class people, has been attitudes about worth and ability. Who deserves a job? Who can do a job? My vision of the world is that everyone can contribute their abilities to our workforce, and that degrees and networks are not the measure of ability. Ability is the measure of ability.
All right. Y'all come.
Give it a mic. Give it a mic.
Boogie down, Bronx.
Yes, we're repping hard from the Bronx right here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that introduction. I feel like I'm among family here. I mean, I am among family. There are people in this room that I go way back with. A little bit more on that later. But I want to tell you a little bit about my story. My why is, what is the point of me doing well and my family doing well if the rest of my people are not doing well? And when I worked at this little company named Platform Learning a long time ago, I had a boss and a mentor who also told me that I had a responsibility and an obligation because of the privilege of having made it through those systems and ending up at a place like Columbia, to use that privilege in service of our community. So, Matthew, thank you for that. Matthew was my boss, and I'll talk a little bit more about my journey even before I met Matthew. So, I was a year out of Columbia. I was selling ads all over the world because I love to travel, and I realized that I was very disconnected and very unhappy. So that 27-year-old Jerome Williams that we talked about, that was me, right? I went to Columbia, but I wanted to do something with purpose. And so I applied to this company named Platform Learning, and they were looking for an analyst. Someone fit my profile out of college. So I go and I interview with this man named Juan Torres, and he says, well, let's see, you speak Spanish, you're from the Bronx, you got sales experience. Everyone else we're hiring for this job has an MBA, but I'm going to hire you and I'm going to make a whole new role for you. And I'm going to throw you in with those folks. And 2 years later, I outperformed all those folks, right? So I didn't have the MBA that job required. Granted, I had all this privilege that I came through Columbia, but that was one big learning, right? So Juan gave me a chance and hired me. And so even though I came in for one job, saw my potential, and helped me thrive. And then while I was at Platform, I learned a couple of other things. So for those of you who don't know, Platform Learning was a high-impact tutoring company. In the days of No Child Left Behind, we would go into schools, set up these rigorous tutoring programs to help our students excel. And I had a couple of epiphanies doing that work. The first one was that oftentimes the highest performing, the most motivated students were often going to be the ones that weren't going to graduate. Or maybe they graduate, go to college, but weren't going to persist. Or even if they persist and got a degree, we're going to have a hard time getting that really good job. So that was one thing. And I'm grounded in this work by my oldest brother. So we're two immigrants from the diaspora coming into this country. I happen to come a lot younger, and so I was able to find the Mr. Morrises and Brunos and Tars that that fed me, that did everything that it took to get me through. He didn't have that, and so he dropped out, started working, got stuck in low-paying jobs, couldn't support his family, ended up selling drugs, getting arrested, getting deported. So his dream became a nightmare, and so that's what grounds this work for me. So anyway, as I come out of Platform Learning, I thought, the education system, we're fighting this good fight, and there's so many people fighting this good fight. I don't see a lot of people fighting this other fight. When you are not served by these systems, when you drop out, how are you supported into a job, into training, into a life of dignity, and ultimately into freedom? So that was one big thing that I had. It's like everyone doesn't have to go to college at 18. We need pathways. We need all of the pathways for all of the people. So how can we create that for people like my brother? The other big thing that I learned when I was at Platform, in 2 years, I had to build and manage a team of 300 people. Now, I was 22, 23-year-old. No one gave me this playbook, but they trusted me. And what I did different, right? No one recommended me for that job to Platform, so I wasn't a referral. And so I said, you know what? A lot of people here went to Morehouse and Harvard and Stanford and MIT, and they're all super talented. But I know some talented folks in the hood in the Bronx that don't speak English, but will make sure that 300 kids are here on a Saturday in their seats, motivated and learning. And that's how I build my team. 70% of that team were educators, like you, doing the work in schools, but the team that made sure that parents were registering their students, that students were showing up, that they were learning, that they had their supplies, they weren't educators. They were parents who really cared about the outcomes of their, sorry. Do I have a timer? 30 seconds. Anyway, so that led me to my journey with LaborX, to reimagine a world where anyone who is not being served by the traditional post-secondary system. So you go through vocational, you go to a pre-apprenticeship program, you go to a boot camp, but you've never heard of those programs. We want to connect you to that training and then to living wage work so that you can find the economic and spiritual freedom you need to thrive. So that's my work. If you want to learn more about it, if you want to support me, come find me, because it's going to take all of us to do this work. Thank you.